The galaxy was still recovering from centuries of peace. The Galactic Council, a governing body made up of the universe's most powerful species, had long held dominance. They had created a balanced order where no one challenged their authority. The people of the galaxy believed that the threat of humanity, an ancient race once destroyed by the Council, had long since disappeared. But that was about to change. Out of the void of space, a new fleet appeared on the scanners. They weren't part of any known empire, and their ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The ships were sleek, fast, and deadly. For a moment, no one knew what to make of it. It wasn't until they sent a message that the terror set in. The transmission was clear and chilling. A human voice, calm but determined, echoed across every communication channel in the galaxy. "We have returned. We have come for what was taken from us. Prepare yourselves." The message sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Council, which had thought humanity was nothing more than a forgotten memory, immediately took action. Panic spread like wildfire as representatives from all over the galaxy began to discuss what this meant. Some wanted to understand, others wanted to fight. But no one truly knew how strong the humans had become over the millennia. The fleet, led by a commander named Captain Alara, had been hidden in the far reaches of the galaxy for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Humans had survived against impossible odds, adapting and evolving. They had rebuilt their technology, their strength, and their will to fight. They were no longer the people the Council had destroyed so long ago. They were stronger, more determined, and ready for revenge. Alara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the stars streaked by on holographic screens. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with the fire of 100 years of hatred and loss. The destruction of Earth had been an unthinkable act, one that had crushed the very spirit of humanity. Now that spirit had been reborn. "It's time," Alara said softly, but with authority. Her officers around her nodded, understanding that this wasn't just a military operation. This was personal. The message had been sent. The Council had no idea what was coming. In the depths of the Council's stronghold, the leaders gathered. The Galactic Council had grown complacent over the years. They had believed they were untouchable. They believed Earth's destruction had been the final blow to humanity. But as the human fleet approached, their reality was shattered. What had once been a forgotten threat was now a nightmare come to life. "Prepare for battle," the supreme leader of the Council ordered, though a sense of doubt lingered in the air. Could they really defeat the humans this time? Was it too late to stop them? As the Council scrambled to react, the humans pressed forward, their eyes set on the ultimate goal, vengeance. The stage was set, and the galaxy would soon know just how deadly humanity could be when pushed to the brink. And so, with that one chilling message, the war began. The humans had returned, not just to fight, but to make the galaxy remember why they had once been feared. The Galactic Council had been the galaxy's governing body for millennia, formed to maintain peace and control among the different species. It was made up of representatives from the strongest empires, each one with its own interests and agendas. But there was one event in the Council's history that they all tried to forget: the destruction of Earth. Earth, home to a thriving and curious human race, had once been a rapidly advancing civilization. The humans had been on the verge of discovering interstellar travel when the Council deemed them a threat. Their rapid technological growth and potential to disrupt the carefully balanced order of the galaxy terrified the Council. The humans could become a new power, one that could challenge the existing dominance. At the time, the Council was led by a group of cautious and fearful leaders. They saw humans as unpredictable and dangerous, so they decided to act. They mobilized their fleets, using their vast resources to destroy Earth. The humans, unprepared for such an overwhelming force, were crushed. Their cities were turned to ashes, and their planet was reduced to rubble. The Council believed this was the only way to maintain their control, to ensure that no other species would rise up and challenge them. The destruction of Earth had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Many species had feared the Council's power, but now they saw that even the mightiest could fall to it. The Council's victory over Earth was seen as a decisive moment, one that ensured their dominance for centuries to come. But as the years passed, cracks began to show. Some members of the Council had begun to question the decision to destroy Earth. They had seen the consequences of their actions. They realized that the humans had never truly posed a threat, that their destruction had been an overreaction, and that the galaxy had lost a valuable species in the process. Whispers of regret started to spread among some of the Council's leaders. They began to ask themselves if humanity had been a mistake to destroy. Some began to doubt the Council's methods and motives. But by then, it was too late. The human race had been wiped out, or so they thought. For 3,000 years, the Council believed they had rid the galaxy of the human threat. The memory of Earth's destruction faded into history. The human species became nothing more than a legend, a story told to remind the galaxy of the price of power. But deep within the forgotten corners of space, humanity had not died. They had survived, and they had been planning. As the Council debated their past decisions, they had no idea that the humans had been watching and waiting. And now, the consequences of their actions were about to unfold. The humans were not gone. They had returned, not as a forgotten species, but as a force ready to make the Council pay for the destruction of their home. The time for regret had passed. The time for revenge had arrived. As the galaxy continued to tremble from the announcement of humanity's return, Commander Elara stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring out into the dark expanse of space. Behind her, the crew worked tirelessly, preparing for the next phase of their mission. The time for waiting was over. The humans had not just come to fight. They had come to dominate. Elara's strategy was simple yet brilliant. Unlike the Council, who relied on overwhelming numbers and brute force, the humans would use their ingenuity, agility, and advanced technology to strike at the heart of the Galactic Council. They knew that the Council's strength lay in their arrogance and complacency. The humans, on the other hand, were survivors. They had been forced to adapt to the harshest of conditions, hiding in the shadows for centuries. Now, they would use everything they had learned to take back what was rightfully theirs. The human fleet was far from the enormous armadas of the Council. It was smaller, faster, and far more efficient. They had created a new type of ship, built not for show but for purpose. These ships were designed to strike quickly and disappear before the enemy could respond. Their stealth technology was unmatched, allowing them to slip past the Council's sensors undetected. The humans had learned from their past mistakes. They had learned how to fight smart. The first step in their plan was to cripple the Council's communications. Without effective communication, the Galactic Council would be unable to organize its forces. The human fleet had already launched a series of electromagnetic pulses that disabled key satellites and communication hubs across the galaxy. It was a quiet strike, one that would have gone unnoticed had the humans not made their next move. Elara's plan also involved infiltrating Council territory. Unlike the direct assault many expected, the humans would sneak into Council strongholds, gathering intelligence and sabotaging key infrastructure. Human spies had already begun infiltrating Council-controlled planets, posing as diplomats and traitors. They knew that information was power, and with it, they could outmaneuver their enemies. The humans had also developed a new weapon, a creation born from the wreckage of their old world, combined with new cutting-edge technology. It was a weapon of incredible power, one capable of targeting the heart of the Council's capital. But Elara knew they couldn't use it just yet. The time wasn't right. They needed to break the Council's resolve before delivering the final blow. "Are we ready?" Elara asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Zane, who was at his station monitoring the fleet's movements. Zane looked up, his face grim but determined. "Yes, Commander. All ships are in position. The first wave of communication jamming is complete. The Council won't know what hit them." Elara nodded, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "Good. We strike fast, and we strike hard." The Council will know that humanity is no longer a memory. We are a force. We are their reckoning. With those words, the human fleet made its first major move against the Galactic Council. The battle had begun, but it was only the beginning. Every move, every plan, every strike was calculated. They were not fighting a war of brute force, but of precision and intelligence. The humans had returned, not as a broken species, but as a new power. And they would stop at nothing to make the Council feel the weight of their actions. The galaxy had barely begun to process the shock of humanity's return when the first major strike occurred. The Galactic Council, still reeling from the initial message and the disruption of their communications, was blindsided by a sudden and devastating attack. The humans were not waiting. They were making their move. The fleet led by Commander Alara had already positioned itself strategically near a key Council outpost on the outskirts of a major trade route. The Council had not yet realized the full extent of the human fleet's capabilities, underestimating their speed and stealth. The first wave of attack came without warning. Within moments, the human ships descended on the Council installation like a storm. The Council's defense systems were no match for the humans' advanced technology. While the Council relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers, the humans focused on precision. Each strike was calculated. Every move was designed to strike fear into the hearts of the Council. Alara had ordered a swift and precise assault, targeting energy generators, communications hubs, and critical supply lines. The goal was not to destroy everything, but to create enough chaos to cripple their ability to fight back. The human ships, with their advanced stealth capabilities, slipped in undetected and disabled the outpost's main power grid. The lights of the station flickered and died, sending a wave of panic throughout the command center. By the time the Council forces had activated their emergency protocols, the humans were already gone, disappearing into the depths of space before the enemy could even respond. The destruction was swift and clean. The attack was over in a matter of hours. No human life was lost, but the Council had been dealt a heavy blow. The Council leadership scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The first wave of their defensive forces had been knocked out, and their ability to communicate with other sectors had been severely compromised. The news of the attack spread quickly through the galaxy, and the Council was thrown into disarray. On the bridge of her flagship, Commander Alara watched as the reports came in. Her heart raced with adrenaline, but her mind remained calm and focused. This was only the beginning. The humans were not here for petty revenge. They were here to send a message to the entire galaxy. And this was only the first step. "This is just the start," Alara said, her voice steady as she addressed her crew. "We've shown them that we are capable of striking when they least expect it. Now, we must build on this momentum." Lieutenant Zane stepped forward, his face reflecting both excitement and concern. "Commander, the Council will retaliate. They won't take this lightly." Alara nodded. "I know, but we're ready. They've made the mistake of thinking we were gone. Now they'll see that humanity is not something they can ignore. We've come to reclaim what was taken, and we will stop at nothing to make them pay." The battle was far from over, and the humans knew that retaliation from the Council would come soon. But for now, they had sent a clear message. Humanity had returned, and they would not be easily defeated. As the human fleet sailed away into the stars, the galaxy began to realize the truth. Earth had been destroyed, but humanity was far from gone. They had come back to fight, and the Council's reign was beginning to crumble. The human fleet had left its mark, and the galaxy was in turmoil. The Galactic Council, shaken by the unexpected attack, scrambled to regroup and retaliate. But as the Council focused on its response, something unexpected began to happen. Across the galaxy, whispers of humanity's resilience started to spread. What had once been considered a destroyed race was now viewed with a mix of fear and admiration. Among the human fleet, Commander Alara knew the next step was not to keep fighting, but to connect with the galaxy's inhabitants. The humans had been scattered, isolated, and out of sight for centuries. Now, it was time for them to show the galaxy the true power of humanity, not just in war, but in spirit. A human ambassador, a woman named Ilya, was sent to key systems controlled by neutral factions. Her mission was clear: to explain humanity's past, the destruction of Earth, and the reason for their return. She was to build alliances, share their story, and perhaps even find allies in unexpected places. Ilya's first meeting took place on the peaceful world of Scifi, a planet known for its diplomatic neutrality. The Xantharians, a calm and thoughtful species, were hesitant. They had heard the whispers of human return, but they knew little of the truth. Ilya stood before their council, her posture firm, but her voice calm and full of emotion. "We were once a thriving race, full of hope and potential," Ilya began, her words carrying the weight of centuries of loss. "But we were destroyed by the Galactic Council, our home erased from existence. For 3,000 years, we have survived in the shadows. We are not here to destroy the galaxy. We are here to make it clear that we will never again be silenced." The Xantharians listened closely. They had never heard such a story of resilience. Earth, once a planet of many nations and cultures, had been reduced to nothing. Yet humanity had survived. They had rebuilt themselves, evolved, and were now powerful enough to take on the galaxy's most dominant force. Ilya continued, her eyes filled with both sorrow and pride. "We fight not just for revenge. We fight for the future, for every species that has ever been oppressed by the Galactic Council. We fight because we believe in our right to exist, and we will never back down." As she spoke, a strange silence filled the room. The Xantharians had seen many civilizations come and go, but they had never encountered a species with the sheer determination that humanity now displayed. They had always known humans as a peaceful people, known for their creativity and ambition. But what they saw now was something different, a force that could not be stopped. By the end of her speech, many of the Xantharian leaders had softened. They had been moved by the unyielding human spirit. A vote was taken, and to Ilya's surprise, the Xantharians chose to stand with humanity. They would offer support, trade, and intelligence. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Word of Ilya's success spread quickly, and soon other neutral systems began to reach out. Some were inspired by humanity's strength, while others feared what would happen if they didn't align with them. The human presence in the galaxy was no longer a forgotten memory. It was a rising force, and now the galaxy was forced to pay attention. Commander Alara watched from her flagship as the reports came in. More and more systems were coming to humanity's side. They were no longer alone in their fight. The galaxy was beginning to shift, and humanity was at the center of that change. "Humanity is not just a survivor," Alara said, her voice filled with determination. "We are a force that will change the galaxy, and together we will rebuild what was lost." It was clear now. The fight was not just about revenge. It was about creating a future where humanity could thrive once again. And the galaxy would soon realize that they had made a powerful new ally. The Galactic Council had never faced a situation like this before. For centuries, they had controlled the galaxy, their power absolute. But now, they found themselves on the defensive. The humans, a race they believed to be extinct, had returned with a vengeance, and the galaxy was slowly but surely falling under their influence. In the Grand Council chamber, the leaders of the galaxy's most powerful species gathered for an emergency session. Their faces were tense, eyes filled with concern. The attack on the Council outpost had been swift and devastating, and the humans' ability to disable communications had left them scrambling. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. The supreme leader of the Galactic Council, a tall, imposing figure from the Koran Empire, stood at the head of the table. He clenched his fists, his anger barely contained. "How could we have let this happen?" he demanded. "The humans were nothing but a memory. Now they've returned, stronger than ever, and they're already striking at the heart of our power. Around the table, murmurs of frustration and fear rippled through the room. Representatives from various species looked at each other with unease. The council had always been a symbol of unity, but now cracks were starting to show. Some began to question the wisdom of the decisions made 3,000 years ago, when Earth had been destroyed. Had the humans truly been a threat, or had the council acted out of fear? The Koran leader turned to his second-in-command, a sharp-eyed woman from the Ixian species. "What is our response?" he asked, his voice cold. "We have no choice," the Ixian woman replied, her voice steady, but filled with the weight of the situation. "We must retaliate. The humans have proven they are not to be taken lightly. They are organized, powerful, and they've already started to make alliances with other species. We can't afford to let them grow any stronger." The room grew silent. The leaders knew that any response they made could spark a full-scale war across the galaxy. The humans had the momentum now, and their new alliances with neutral species meant that the council could no longer rely on sheer numbers to crush them. A council representative from the Varnak system spoke up, his voice trembling. Perhaps it's time to consider a different approach. The humans have already shown us their strength. Maybe we could open a dialogue. Offer peace." The supreme leader's eyes narrowed. "Peace? After they've attacked us? After they've humiliated us? You want to negotiate with them?" But the Varnak representative's voice grew more insistent. "We underestimated them once. Perhaps it's time to admit that we can't destroy them. We could offer them something, anything, to end this before it's too late." For a moment, the supreme leader considered the suggestion. Peace seemed like the only way to avoid total destruction. But pride and fear held him back. The council could not be seen as weak. It could not allow a new power to rise and challenge its authority. "We will not bow to the humans," the supreme leader finally declared, his voice hard. "We will crush them, just as we did before." But even as he spoke, a small part of him began to wonder if it was too late. Could the council truly defeat humanity again, or had they made a mistake that they couldn't undo? Meanwhile, far from the council's chambers, humanity was already planning their next move. They had no intention of backing down, and with each passing day, the council's grip on the galaxy weakened. The stage was set for the next chapter in the war for the future of the galaxy. The conflict had escalated beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. What started as a simple strike by the humans had now turned into an all-out war. The Galactic Council, once a powerful and unchallenged force, found itself struggling to maintain control as humanity, with its alliances and advanced technology, began to spread its influence across the galaxy. Commander Alara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the war unfold. Reports came in from every corner of the galaxy, each one more promising than the last. The human fleet had made significant progress, liberating planets once controlled by the Council. More species were joining their cause, realizing that humanity wasn't just fighting for revenge. They were fighting for freedom, for a galaxy free of the Council's tyranny. "We've taken 3 more Council-controlled planets," Lieutenant Zane reported, his voice filled with excitement. "The Council is scrambling to organize a response, but they're losing control. Their defenses are weakening." Alara nodded, her face calm despite the growing success. "We need to keep the pressure on. We strike fast, and we don't give them a chance to recover. The more they lose, the more their allies will turn against them." The human strategy had been simple but effective. Hit hard, hit fast, and always move before the enemy could strike back. The Council had relied on their powerful fleets and defensive forces, but the humans had learned from their past mistakes. They had perfected the art of surprise, infiltrating Council systems, sabotaging key military installations, and making precise attacks where it would hurt the most. While the Council's leaders debated in their chambers, the human fleet continued its relentless march. The battles were brutal, but the humans were determined. They fought not just for their own survival, but for every species that had suffered under the Council's rule. And as they won each battle, More and more planets began to join their cause. In the midst of the war, Ilya, the human ambassador, had become a symbol of hope and resilience. She had successfully negotiated alliances with neutral factions, convincing them that the Council was no longer a power they could trust. One by one, former allies of the Council were pulling their support, realizing that the humans were not the same race they had destroyed so many years ago. But the Council was not willing to give up easily. They regrouped, pulling together their remaining forces for one final push. The supreme leader of the Council called for a massive counterattack. It was their last chance to crush the human fleet and restore their dominance. "We will not let them take everything from us," the supreme leader declared in a fierce speech to his commanders. "The time for retreat is over. We will fight to the end." But deep down, even he knew that the war had shifted. The humans were no longer the defeated species they had once been. They had become something stronger, something unstoppable. The Council's forces were stretched thin, their morale shattered. Every victory the humans achieved brought them closer to their goal. As the human fleet made its way toward the Council's capital, Alara knew that the final battle was fast approaching. The stakes had never been higher. Victory meant the fall of the Galactic Council, the end of their reign, and the beginning of a new era. But defeat meant the end of everything humanity had worked for. "We fight for our future," Alara whispered to herself. "And we will not lose." The final clash was coming. The fate of the galaxy would soon be decided, and humanity was determined to win. The final battle had arrived. The human fleet was closing in on the Galactic Council's capital, a massive, heavily fortified planet known as Sirian. For centuries, Xirion had stood as the heart of the Council's power, a symbol of their dominance over the galaxy. But now, it was the target of humanity's revenge. The time for negotiation had passed. The time for battle had come. Commander Alara stood at the command center of her flagship, her eyes fixed on the massive holographic map in front of her. The enemy's defenses were formidable, but they were no longer as coordinated as they once had been. The Council's power was crumbling, and now it was time to deliver the final blow. "We've disabled their outer defense shields," Lieutenant Zane reported, his voice filled with urgency. "They'll be wide open in 10 minutes. Alara nodded, her expression serious. "Then we strike now. No hesitation. We've come too far to falter now." The human fleet moved into position, hundreds of ships aligned in perfect formation, ready for the assault. It was a battle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Human ingenuity against the Council's overwhelming firepower. But Alara knew that humanity had something the Council could never have: the will to fight for their survival. The first wave of human ships broke through the outer defenses, their stealth technology keeping them undetected long enough to hit the Council's main military installations. The explosions lit up the sky as the human forces tore through the heart of Sirian's defenses. The Council's forces tried to respond, but it was too late. The humans were everywhere, striking with precision, hitting vital targets with surgical accuracy. The battle raged on for hours. Council ships were disabled, their power grids failing one by one. The human fleet showed no mercy. Each move was calculated, each strike a step closer to victory. Alara had planned this moment for years. Every piece of technology, every battle, every alliance had led them to this point. The humans were not just fighting for revenge, they were fighting for the future. On the surface of Tyrion, the Council's leaders were beginning to realize the true scale of the threat. They had underestimated humanity's strength, their resilience, and their ingenuity. The supreme leader, now pacing in his war room, slammed his fist down on the table in frustration. "We cannot win this battle," he muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "We have been outsmarted." As the battle continued above, the ground forces on Xirion were quickly overwhelmed by the humans. Soldiers from every species that had joined humanity's cause stormed the planet, pushing back the Council's remaining troops. The once proud capital of the Galactic Council was now a war zone, its mighty walls crumbling under the weight of human determination. Alara watched from her flagship as the final blow was delivered, a massive strike that disabled the Council's main command center. The lights of the planet flickered and died, and the human fleet celebrated its victory. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of power and control, was no more. In the aftermath, the human fleet gathered around Xirion, now silent and broken. The galaxy had changed forever. The Council's reign had ended, and humanity had reclaimed its place in the stars. But this victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about proving that no matter how much they had lost, humanity could always rise again. Alara stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. "We've won. The galaxy is ours now." The fight had been long and hard, but in the end, humanity had triumphed. They had returned not just for revenge, but to reshape the galaxy, to build a future where no one could ever threaten their existence again. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of humanity had just begun. The war was over, but the real work had just begun. The Galactic Council, once the most powerful organization in the universe, had been dismantled. Xirion, their capital, now lay in ruins, and the rest of the galaxy was slowly realizing that the balance of power had shifted. Humanity had not only survived, but had emerged victorious. And now it was their turn to rebuild the galaxy, this time with a new vision. Commander Alara stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes fixed on the holographic map of the galaxy. The human fleet had taken control of key systems, and now it was time to restore order. The war had been long and brutal, but humanity had proved its strength, resilience, and determination. Now, the challenge was to ensure that the galaxy could heal. "It's time to begin the rebuilding process," Alara said, her voice steady. "We'll need to bring the neutral systems into the fold. They've been watching us for years, and now it's time to show them that we're not here to conquer, but to create something new." Lieutenant Zane, who had been by her side throughout the war, nodded in agreement. "We've already received messages from the Xantharians, the Varnak, and the Talitians. They're willing to work with us. The galaxy is changing, Alara." Alara looked down at the galaxy map, tracing the routes that would connect the newly freed systems. Humanity had fought not just for their survival, but for the chance to build a better future, one where power was shared, not hoarded. The humans had proven that they could rise from the ashes, but now they would have to prove that they could create something lasting. "We'll need to set up a new council," Alara continued. "A council made up of representatives from every species that fought for freedom. A council where everyone's voice is heard, not just the strongest. This galaxy has been ruled by fear and control for too long. It's time for change." While the humans had been focused on fighting for their future, they had not forgotten the past. They knew that their victory wasn't just about defeating the council, it was about showing the galaxy that peace was possible, even in a universe torn apart by war. Alara's vision was clear: a galaxy built on cooperation, trust, and mutual respect. On the surface of Xirion, the human forces began the process of restoring the planet. The once proud capital had been reduced to rubble, but it was also a symbol of the fall of tyranny and the rise of a new era. The humans, along with their new allies, worked together to clear the debris and rebuild what had been lost. It would take time, but Alara knew that every stone they moved, every building they rebuilt, was a step closer to a united galaxy. Back on the human flagship, reports came in from all across the galaxy. Several systems that had once been under the Council's control were now reaching out, seeking guidance and help in rebuilding their own worlds. The message was clear. They had seen the power of humanity's resolve, and they wanted to be part of the new galaxy. Alara smiled as she read the messages. The humans had won the war, but now they were winning the hearts and minds of the galaxy. The people who had once feared humanity's return were now looking to them for leadership. "The galaxy is ours to rebuild," Alara said softly, her eyes filled with determination. "And we will build it together." Humanity's journey was far from over. The battle for the future had just begun, but Alara knew one thing for certain. This time, humanity would not be defeated. The galaxy had been given a second chance, and they would make sure it was a chance worth taking. The galaxy had changed. The war that had torn through the stars was over, but its effects would echo through time. The Galactic Council was gone, their once unshakable power replaced by a new order. Humanity, having faced the unimaginable, had not only survived, but had emerged victorious. Now, it was time for the galaxy to rebuild, and humanity was ready to lead. Commander Alara stood before a massive council chamber, the first meeting of the new Galactic Council. Representatives from species that had once been enemies now sat together, their differences set aside for a common cause. Humanity had proven that it was not just a force to be feared, it was a force for change. The room was filled with representatives from every corner of the galaxy. The Talisians, Syntherians, Varnak, and many others had come to the table, ready to work with humanity to create something new. Alara stood at the front, her eyes scanning the room, filled with a mix of species, all equal in this new system. It was a far cry from the days of the Galactic Council, where the strongest ruled over all others. This new council would not be based on power, but on cooperation and mutual respect. The humans had shown the galaxy that it was possible to rise from the ashes, and now they were leading the way. "We have won the war," Alara began, her voice steady, but carrying the weight of the responsibility she now held. "But our true victory lies in what we build from here. We have the chance to create a galaxy where every voice is heard, where no species is ruled by fear or oppression. This is our moment to shape the future." Her words rang out in the chamber, and the representatives nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was united in purpose. "The human spirit has shown the galaxy that we are not just fighters. We are builders, dreamers, and creators," Alara continued. "We will work together to rebuild, to heal the wounds of the past, and to ensure that no species ever has to suffer under tyranny again." Across the room, a representative from the Varnak system stood. His eyes were filled with determination. "The humans have earned our trust," he said. "We have seen your strength, your resolve, and your compassion. We will follow your lead, and together we will build a better future." The room erupted in applause, a rare moment of unity that signified the end of an old era and the beginning of a new one. The representatives from every species knew that the galaxy's future was uncertain, but they also knew that humanity had shown them the way. There was hope where once there was none. Alara's gaze shifted to the holographic map of the galaxy before her. It was a map of countless stars, each one a part of a vast and diverse galaxy. And now, humanity was a part of it, not as conquerors, but as leaders in a new age of peace and cooperation. "It won't be easy," Alara said, her voice calm but filled with conviction. "The road ahead is long, and there will be challenges. But together, we can overcome anything." The room fell silent as everyone reflected on her words. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. The galaxy had been reshaped, and now it was time to build the future. A future where no species would stand alone. And so, as the new council began its work, humanity stood at the center, not as a power to be feared, but as a guiding force for a galaxy that had been given a second chance. The story of humanity was just beginning, and this time, it was a story of hope, unity, and a bright future for all.